The void of space stretched endlessly, a dark canvas speckled with distant stars. The Galactic Empire's patrol fleet moved through the sector with quiet confidence. Their ships were immense, polished to a mirror finish, bristling with weapons and scanners that could detect the faintest anomaly. Yet, despite their technology, they were not prepared for what would soon appear. Admiral Varrock stood on the command bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, his sharp eyes scanning the sector's readings. Sensors had picked up a faint signal beyond the usual range, an object moving through the void with strange energy readings. The object was massive, but unlike any vessel or asteroid the Empire had catalogued. "Report," Varrock commanded, his voice firm. "Unknown vessel detected, sir," Lieutenant Kale replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. "Size exceeds any known human or alien warship in Imperial records. Energy signature is unusual. It doesn't match any propulsion system we have catalogued." Varrock's eyes narrowed. "Unusual how, sir?" "It moves too precisely, not like our standard warp drives. It seems aware, almost as if it anticipates our movements before we make them." A low murmur passed through the bridge crew. Some exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the danger before it fully arrived. The Empire's fleets were powerful, but they were built to fight known enemies. This was something new, something unknown. "Open a channel," Varrock ordered. "Let's see who dares enter Imperial space without permission." Static filled the bridge as communications attempted to connect. A moment later, a voice rang out. Calm, clear, and firm, but with no trace of fear or aggression. "This is Captain Elias Thorne of the Aegis, human vessel. You are within our observation sector. We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves if provoked." Varrock froze. Human? That alone was unusual. Humanity was scattered across several remote star systems, considered primitive by most of the Empire's standards. Yet here was a ship, enormous and fully armed, appearing out of nowhere in their territory. "Identify your class and purpose," Varrock barked. "Class is irrelevant," the voice replied evenly. "Purpose is observation and assessment. We are aware of your Empire's reach and strength. We mean no harm unless it is forced upon us." Varrock's mind raced. He had studied human behavior, read reports, analyzed every record the Empire had on them. They were considered small, unpredictable, and daring. But he had never seen humans act on this scale. He could see the first reports in the Imperial archives. Humans surviving impossible odds, outsmarting far larger forces, and thriving in conditions other races considered deadly. "Prepare the fleet for engagement," Varrock commanded, though a part of him felt unease. "We do not know their true strength. If they attack first, we will respond." The bridge crew moved with precision, activating shields, charging weapons, and launching reconnaissance drones. The Aegis did not respond with fear or hesitation. It simply moved, gliding silently through the void, its hull shimmering with a soft, almost ethereal light. It was alive in a way that no Imperial vessel had ever seemed to be. "Sir," Kel said, pointing to the holographic display, "weapons targeting systems are failing. The drones can't lock on. The ship seems adaptive. Every time we try to target it, it shifts, anticipates, and moves before our sensors can fully adjust." Varrock's jaw tightened. "Impossible. Nothing moves faster than our calculations allow. Nothing adapts this quickly." Yet the human vessel was doing just that. It had emerged without warning, and now it was challenging the Empire in a way no enemy had dared. From the perspective of the humans aboard the Aegis, the scene was calm, almost routine. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his eyes steady as he watched the approaching fleet. Around him, the crew worked in silence, each member understanding their role perfectly. "Status report," Thorne asked, his voice calm and measured. "Fleet scanners show multiple Imperial warships preparing to engage, Captain," Lieutenant Mara replied. "They have not attacked yet, but shields and weapons are fully active. Their formation is tight, but we've predicted it. Maneuvering protocols are ready." Thorne nodded. "Good. Remember, this is not a fight we seek, but if they force the issue, they will see what humanity is capable of. All systems, stand by for demonstration protocol Alpha." The Aegis shifted subtly, almost imperceptibly, and the stars outside seemed to stretch and bend around it. The Imperial fleet noticed, but sensors could not fully explain what they were seeing. A sense of unease spread among the officers. This was no ordinary ship, no ordinary enemy. "Sir," Kale whispered, his voice tight. It's too fast. Their vessels are moving faster than physics should allow. Varrock clenched his fists. Then we will hit them where it matters. Fire everything. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space, leaving trails of glowing light as they approached the human warship. Yet the Aegis moved with almost preternatural precision, weaving and dodging with elegance. Not a single weapon struck its hull. The human captain remained calm. "Display tactical pattern Gamma," he ordered. A series of holographic projections activated on the bridge, showing enemy positions and movements. Every crew member knew their role, every calculation precise. A single small strike from the human ship disabled one of the Empire's drones, not destroying it, but carefully disabling its systems. Another ship's engines were temporarily scrambled. The humans were demonstrating power without unnecessary destruction. Their goal was clear: show superiority and intelligence, not mindless violence. On the Imperial flagship, murmurs turned into outright fear. "Admiral," one officer said, voice shaking, "they're controlling the battle. Every time we adjust, they're 2 steps ahead." Varrock's mind raced. Humanity had always been underestimated. Known as small, primitive, and chaotic, they were never considered a serious threat on this scale. Yet here they were, emerging from nowhere, faster, smarter, and more adaptable than anything the Empire had faced. "Sir," another officer said, "they're communicating. A boarding shuttle just detached and is heading for our ship." Varrock's eyes widened. "Impossible. They couldn't possibly." Before he could finish, a small, sleek shuttle appeared out of nowhere, bypassing all defense grids. It docked seamlessly with the Eternal Dominion. Moments later, a message was transmitted directly to Varrock's command console. The words were simple, but their impact was profound. "We have studied your fleet. We know your strengths and weaknesses. The galaxy is large enough for all, but you must not underestimate humanity." Varrock sank back into his chair, stunned. The message was not just a warning, it was a statement of intent. Humans were here, and they had arrived with intelligence, strategy, and courage far beyond what the Empire expected. On the human ship, Captain Thorne smiled slightly. "Let them see," he said quietly. "They will understand soon enough. Humanity does not fear the impossible. We adapt, we survive, and we overcome." The Aegis hovered in the void, a silent sentinel of human ingenuity and strength. The stars seemed to bend around it, reflecting the calm confidence of a species that refused to be underestimated. For the Empire, this was a moment of reckoning, a sudden, undeniable reminder that humans were no longer insignificant, no longer predictable, and certainly not powerless. As the human warship glided silently into the unknown depths of space, the Empire's fleet regrouped, shaken and wary. The first salvo had missed. The humans had demonstrated their power, and a quiet, terrifying truth had settled among the officers. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy was about to change forever. And somewhere deep inside the Aegis, Captain Thorne looked toward the horizon, knowing that this was only the beginning. Humanity had emerged out of nowhere, and the Empire was not prepared. The void of space had grown tense since the first encounter. The Galactic Empire's fleet, once confident in its supremacy, now hovered with uncertainty. Every officer aboard the Eternal Dominion and surrounding warships felt it. Humans were different. Not only were they fast and unpredictable, but they seemed to anticipate every move the Empire made. On board the Aegis, Captain Elias Thorne observed the Imperial fleet through the main viewing screen. The ship's subtle glow reflected across his face. Calm, controlled, and precise, every crew member knew their role in the coming demonstration. This was not a fight to destroy recklessly. It was a demonstration of human ingenuity and discipline. "Status report," Thorne said. Lieutenant Mara's fingers flew across the holographic display. "Imperial weapons are active and charging. They are attempting coordinated strikes. Their fleet formations are tight, but their movements are slow compared to ours. They are struggling to predict our maneuvers." "Good," Thorne replied. "Initiate pattern Delta. We will show them that strategy matters more than numbers." The Aegis shifted subtly, moving almost imperceptibly faster than the sensors could detect. The Imperial fleet fired again, energy beams lighting the void like lightning. Yet every attack was dodged. The humans moved with precision and grace, their ship responding almost instinctively to every threat. "Admiral Varrock, they are too fast," one officer said, fear creeping into his voice. We can't hit them. Every attack misses by kilometers. Varrock gritted his teeth. Then we must change tactics. Focus on coordinated volleys. Use every weapon in sync. We cannot allow them to outmaneuver us. Meanwhile, a small human shuttle detached from the Aegis. Unlike the earlier one that delivered a message, this shuttle moved quickly toward a smaller Imperial cruiser. Thorn's voice carried calm authority across the ship. Lieutenant Kira, deploy boarding protocol Omega. Disable their systems, not destroy. Show precision, not brute force. Kira nodded. The shuttle approached the Imperial cruiser with silent efficiency. Within minutes, the cruiser's communications and engines were temporarily disabled. Crew members scrambled in confusion, unable to understand how a tiny human vessel had bypassed their defenses so effortlessly. Back on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Varrock's face tightened. They are striking without aggression, he muttered. They are teaching us something. But what? The Aegis began a series of maneuvers that made the Imperial fleet appear sluggish and uncoordinated. Human pilots, small, fast shuttles, and automated drones moved in perfect harmony with the warship. It was a ballet of strategy in the vacuum of space. Each movement calculated and precise. The Empire's officers realized that no matter how powerful their weapons were, they were fighting against intelligence, not just firepower. Sir, Kale said, voice trembling slightly. They're adapting. Every time we try a new tactic, they adjust immediately. It's as if they predicted our plan before we even executed it. Varrock slammed his fist against the console. Impossible. Humans cannot calculate this fast. But Thorn's voice remained calm on the Aegis. Every species has patterns. Every fleet has weaknesses. We simply identify them and act. No one is unbeatable, Admiral. Not even the Empire. The Aegis launched a series of controlled strikes, missiles that disabled weapon systems, energy pulses that temporarily scrambled shields, and precise maneuvers that forced Imperial ships to retreat or risk collisions. Not one human action was wasteful. Every move was calculated to demonstrate superiority without unnecessary destruction. On board the Empire's fleet, fear mixed with awe. Soldiers whispered among themselves, realizing that humanity was not only clever but fearless. They had faced deadly odds before, but this level of discipline and coordination was unlike anything they had seen. Sir, Kale continued, they're not just fighting. They're teaching us about strategy, about thinking ahead, about patience. Every strike is a lesson in human capability. Varrock's jaw tightened. Then we learn quickly or we fail. Prepare for countermeasures. Deploy experimental weapons. Anything to gain an advantage. As the Empire scrambled to respond, Thorn watched and analyzed. Every move the Empire made was anticipated. Every potential outcome calculated. The humans had trained for this, studied their enemy, and prepared for every contingency. It was not arrogance, it was preparation, skill, and discipline. The first experimental weapon launched by the Empire, a massive energy cannon, ignited in the void. The humans had anticipated it. The Aegis deployed a series of decoys and defensive shields, absorbing the blast without damage. Simultaneously, small human drones disabled the energy cannon's targeting system. For every new threat, humans had a solution ready. Excellent, Thorn said quietly. They believe power alone will win, but strategy always wins over force. Meanwhile, aboard the Empire's flagship, Varrock felt a deep unease. Humanity was not just surviving, they were dominating the engagement with intelligence and finesse. Officers who had once been confident were now pale, shaken, and uncertain. This is remarkable, one officer whispered. They fight without recklessness. They strike with precision, and yet they are not destroying us. Varrock knew that was the scariest part. Humans were showing what they could do, and it was far beyond what the Empire had imagined. Every strike, every maneuver, every shuttle boarding mission demonstrated control, intelligence, and foresight. Back on the Aegis, Thorn reviewed the battle in real time. We must remain calm. Let them see our strength, but also our principles. Humans do not fight for mindless conquest. We fight to survive, to protect, and to teach respect for our capabilities. Lieutenant Mara spoke softly. Captain, they are retreating slightly. They are beginning to understand. And they are fearful. Good, Thorn said, a slight smile crossing his face. Fear is not weakness, it is recognition. They now know humanity is a force to be reckoned with. In the following hours, the human crew continued their calculated demonstration. They did not attack civilians or destroy ships unnecessarily. Instead, they showcased their abilities, advanced maneuvering, predictive tactics, and adaptive defenses that rendered the Empire's most powerful weapons ineffective. Imperial scientists scrambled to analyze what they saw. Shields that adjusted to attacks automatically, weapons that predicted enemy movement, engines that allowed impossible acceleration, all combined with human ingenuity, creativity, and calm decision-making. Every discovery left the Empire more baffled. Finally, Thorn authorized a final demonstration. A massive energy pulse radiated from the Aegis, temporarily disabling all non-essential Imperial systems within range. Shields flickered, engines stalled, and communications went silent across multiple ships. Yet the humans had taken care to avoid casualties, ensuring only systems were affected. The Empire's officers were stunned, not by destruction but by control. Humanity could destroy them if they wished, but they chose precision, strategy, and teaching over raw violence. Varrock stared at the Aegis on his view screen, a deep respect forming despite his anger. "This is not a battle I can win with power alone," he muttered. "They are something else entirely." Meanwhile, Thorn addressed his crew. "Well done," he said simply. "We have shown them what humans can do. But remember, this is only the beginning. They will adapt, and we must always be ready. Intelligence, patience, and courage will carry us forward." The human warship, having demonstrated its power without unnecessary destruction, began to drift slightly away from the Imperial fleet. The message was clear. Humans had arrived, and their presence was no longer a mystery or a threat that could be ignored. The Empire had learned a painful lesson. Force alone was never enough against a species that combined courage, intelligence, and adaptability. As the stars stretched in the void, reflecting off the sleek hull of the Aegis, Captain Thorn allowed himself a brief smile. Humanity had emerged, not as victims or underdogs, but as a species capable of astounding strategy and discipline. The galaxy would take notice, and for the first time, the Galactic Empire understood something important. Humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, and fighters who would not be underestimated. The human warship glided silently, almost gracefully through the darkness, leaving the Empire with a single undeniable truth. Humanity's strength was not in its size or firepower alone, but in its mind, its courage, and its unwavering will to adapt and overcome. The Imperial fleet had never faced an enemy like the humans. Every officer aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion and surrounding vessels felt a mixture of awe and fear. The humans were fast, precise, and utterly disciplined. They did not waste energy on chaos or destruction. They acted with intelligence, foresight, and unity. Admiral Varrock paced the command bridge, his mind racing. "We underestimated them," he admitted, though he spoke quietly. "We thought humans were a small, scattered species, but this is something else entirely." Lieutenant Kale, usually calm and confident, nodded grimly. "Sir, they've proven they can anticipate our moves. Every maneuver we attempt, they counter before we can even execute it. Their technology, it's unlike anything we've seen." Varrock clenched his fists. "Then we must escalate, gather all available fleets, deploy our most experienced captains. This is no longer a simple encounter. It is a matter of Imperial survival." Across the void, the Aegis moved with quiet precision. Captain Elias Thorn observed the preparations of the Imperial fleet, noting their tactics and formations. The humans had anticipated the Empire's response, preparing countermeasures for every possible strategy. "Captain," Lieutenant Mara said, her eyes scanning the data feed, "the Empire is mobilizing all fleets in the sector. They are consolidating their strongest ships for a counterattack. They intend to overwhelm us with numbers." Thorn nodded. "Good, that is exactly what we expected. Prepare for pattern Sigma. Let them see that intelligence, coordination, and adaptability can overcome even overwhelming numbers." The human crew worked silently, their movements synchronized like a single organism. Every system on the Aegis was monitored, every crew member aware of their role. They were ready not only to defend themselves, but to teach the Empire a lesson in strategy. Meanwhile, the Imperial fleet moved into position. Hundreds of warships formed a dense formation, their weapons bristling with energy. The human vessel, though smaller in number, moved with unmatched speed and precision, evading attacks effortlessly. It was clear to all who watched. The humans were not merely reacting, they were controlling the engagement. Admiral Varrock slammed his fist on the command console. "Open all channels! We demand that they cease their interference immediately," Thorn's voice replied, calm and unyielding. "We have not interfered. We are here to observe and protect ourselves. But know this, Admiral. Any attempt to harm us will be met with swift, calculated response." The Empire launched its first coordinated attack. Energy beams, missiles, and drone swarms filled the void, converging on the Aegis. But humans were ready. Using advanced maneuvers and predictive calculations, the warship dodged every attack. Drones deployed from the human vessel intercepted missiles, redirecting them harmlessly into space. The Aegis's shields shimmered and adapted to every energy beam, absorbing and dispersing the power without damage. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, officers whispered in disbelief. "How is this possible?" one said. "They predict every move, counter every strategy, and yet remain unharmed." "They are untouchable." Varrock did not respond immediately. Instead, he studied the displays, trying to understand what was happening. Humans were not just strong or fast, they were thinking, adapting, and controlling the battlefield in ways the Empire had never imagined. Thorn watched the Imperial fleet carefully. "Prepare boarding shuttles," he ordered. "Target ships that could cause the most harm if left operational. Disable, but do not destroy. Let them understand precision is more powerful than raw force." A small fleet of human shuttles detached, moving toward key Imperial warships. Each shuttle used stealth technology to bypass detection, silently reaching critical systems. Engines were temporarily disabled, weapons scrambled, and communication arrays disrupted. The humans' goal was not destruction, it was demonstration. They were showing the Empire that intelligence, foresight, and discipline could control even the largest fleets. On the Eternal Dominion, Varrock's face grew pale. "They are striking without aggression," he muttered. "They are teaching us something, and we are failing to learn." Kale added, "Sir, they're outmaneuvering us at every turn. Even our fastest ships are being forced into defensive positions. Their strategy, it's flawless." Varrock's fingers drummed against the console. "Then we escalate further. Deploy experimental weapons. Use every available system. We cannot allow humans to continue this demonstration unchallenged." The Empire unleashed a new wave of attacks. Massive energy cannons, guided torpedoes, and automated defense grids activated. But the humans had anticipated these moves. The Aegis moved with uncanny precision, weaving through the attacks as if the void itself bent around it. Human drones intercepted weapons mid-flight, while energy shields adapted in real time. Every Imperial advance was met with a calculated response, turning potential disaster into an opportunity for demonstration. "Captain," Lieutenant Mara said, excitement and pride in her voice. "They've deployed their most advanced weapons. They are concentrating their fleet against us, trying to overwhelm our numbers." Thorn's eyes narrowed slightly. "Good, let them come. Intelligence over numbers, adaptation over force. All systems pattern Omega. Let's show them what humanity is truly capable of." The Aegis accelerated, moving with speed that sensors could barely track. It weaved through the dense Imperial formation, striking key points with precision and retreating before retaliation could occur. Imperial ships floundered, their attacks missing completely, their formations disrupted. The humans' ability to predict, adapt, and control the battle became clearer with every passing moment. On the Eternal Dominion, Varrock's officers were in chaos. "Admiral," one shouted, "they are controlling the engagement. We are falling into their trap." Varrock's face was grim. "Then we must adjust. Focus fire on their shuttles. Target the drones. We cannot allow them to continue unchallenged." But even as the Empire attempted to regain control, humans stayed one step ahead. Boarding shuttles disabled key systems without causing casualties. Energy pulses scrambled shields temporarily, forcing Imperial ships to retreat and regroup. The humans' goal was not to destroy, but to teach, and the lesson was clear. The Empire's size and power meant little against intelligence, strategy, and coordination. Thorn observed the Imperial fleet's confusion. "Excellent," he said quietly. "They are beginning to understand. Fear is not weakness, it is recognition. They now know humans are a force to be reckoned with." The Empire's scientists scrambled, trying to analyze human technology. They marveled at shields that adapted instantly, engines that moved with impossible speed, and weapons that anticipated enemy movements. Every discovery left them more baffled and more respectful of human ingenuity. Varrock slammed his fist on the console. Enough, they cannot continue to dominate us. We will strike at the heart of their ship. All fleets converge. We must force them to retreat. Thorn, watching the Imperial ships converge, prepared for the final stage of the engagement. All systems pattern Sigma, he ordered. We will demonstrate that courage, intelligence, and discipline overcome force. Let them see what humanity is capable of. The Aegis glowed faintly as it executed a series of coordinated maneuvers, simultaneously disabling multiple Imperial ships while avoiding damage. Human drones moved with unmatched precision, disrupting weapons and engines. Small boarding shuttles delivered messages and tactical disruptions, leaving the Empire's officers bewildered and frustrated. Varrock stared at the main display, realizing the truth. Humans were not just fighters, they were thinkers, strategists, and innovators. They had turned the battle into a demonstration, a lesson in adaptability and intelligence. The Empire's size and power meant nothing when faced with human foresight and discipline. On board the Aegis, Thorn addressed his crew. We have shown them our strength, but remember, this is only the beginning. They will adapt, and so must we. Humanity's true power is not in firepower alone, it is in our courage, intelligence, and unity. Never forget that. The Imperial fleet, battered and confused, began a cautious retreat. They had not lost all their ships, but they had lost control of the engagement. The humans had turned what could have been a simple battle into a lesson of strategy and discipline. As the Aegis drifted silently through the void, Captain Thorn allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had not only survived, they had demonstrated their intelligence and capability on a scale the galaxy had never seen. The Empire, shaken and respectful, would not forget this encounter. And somewhere deep in the void, the humans prepared for the next stage of their mission. The Empire had responded with force, but humans had countered with skill. The galaxy was beginning to understand a simple truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. The void was silent once more, but the impression left by the humans would resonate across the stars. The Empire had faced a species that combined courage, intelligence, and unity, and they had learned, in no uncertain terms, that humans could not be ignored. The Aegis moved onward, a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. The galaxy was vast, and this was only the beginning. Humanity had responded to the Empire, and the Empire for the first time understood that humans were not just survivors. They were masters of strategy, innovation, and courage. The Galactic Empire's fleets were in disarray. Their initial confidence had crumbled, replaced by caution, frustration, and a growing sense of fear. Every officer aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion and surrounding warships knew the truth. Humanity had surpassed every expectation. The humans were fast, intelligent, and entirely unpredictable. Admiral Varrock stood rigid on the command bridge, his eyes glued to the displays. Every attempt to regain control had failed. The humans moved like a single entity, anticipating every maneuver, countering every attack, and demonstrating a discipline that no Imperial officer had expected. We cannot fight them with force alone, Varrock admitted to Kale, his voice low. They are beyond our understanding, Kale nodded. Sir, they do not just respond to our attacks, they manipulate the battlefield. Each move we make is anticipated. Each maneuver is countered before it begins. Varrock's jaw tightened. Then we must think differently. Concentrate all our fleets. Focus on their weaknesses. We must strike decisively. Across the void, the human warship Aegis drifted like a predator, calm and calculating. Captain Elias Thorn observed the Imperial fleet's movements carefully. The Empire was reorganizing, attempting to form a coordinated strike that could overwhelm even a ship as powerful as the Aegis. But humans had anticipated this. Lieutenant Mara, Thorn said, voice steady, they are gathering their forces for a decisive engagement. We expected this. Prepare Pattern Omega. All systems ready. Let's show them that intelligence and adaptability are stronger than sheer numbers. Mara's fingers flew across the holographic display. Captain, fleet analysis shows they are consolidating their strongest ships. They intend to strike at once, but we've predicted their formation. Our drones and shuttles are in position to disrupt their coordination. Good, Thorn replied. We will not simply fight. We will control. Remember, We strike not to destroy indiscriminately, but to demonstrate human capability and precision. The Imperial fleet advanced, their formation tight and coordinated. Hundreds of warships glimmered in the void, their weapons ready to fire. Energy beams and missiles blazed toward the Aegis, but the humans moved with calculated elegance, evading every attack effortlessly. Their shields adapted instantly to energy discharges, and small drones intercepted incoming projectiles. Each move was deliberate, precise, and effective. On the Eternal Dominion, officers whispered in disbelief. "They are controlling the battlefield," one said. "They are not just defending, they are dictating every move we make." Varroc's face was pale. "Then we must act decisively. Target the human vessel directly. Disable it if possible. Everything else is secondary." Thorn anticipated the command. "Deploy tactical drones and shuttles," he instructed. "Disable key weapons, disrupt engines, but avoid destruction. Show them that control is superior to brute force." The humans launched small, fast shuttles toward the Imperial fleet. Each shuttle moved with stealth, bypassing defenses to reach critical systems. Engines were temporarily disabled, weapon systems scrambled, and communication arrays disrupted. The Imperial officers struggled to understand how such small ships could cause such significant disruption. Kyle groaned in frustration. "Sir, they are using boarding shuttles again. They are not destroying us. They are disabling key systems with precision." Varroc clenched his fists. "Then we must counter with our most advanced tactics. All fleets converge on the human vessel. Focus fire from all directions. We cannot allow them to continue this." The Aegis began executing a series of maneuvers designed to confuse and fragment the Imperial fleet. It split its apparent location across multiple holographic projections, making it appear in several places at once. Imperial ships fired at the illusions, wasting energy and resources, while the real human warship moved unseen, striking at vulnerable points with surgical precision. "Captain, they are targeting decoys," Mara said with a slight smile. "Our real position is unchallenged. They cannot anticipate this maneuver." "Excellent," Thorn said. "Let's show them that strategy and intelligence are more important than numbers and firepower." The Imperial fleet's frustration grew. They fired massive energy beams, guided missiles, and drone swarms in every direction. Yet every attack was countered or dodged. Every potential trap laid by the Empire was anticipated and neutralized. Human ingenuity, foresight, and adaptability were unmatched. Varroc's officers were pale and silent. They had studied humans, underestimated them, and now they faced the consequences. "They are unstoppable," one whispered. Varroc's voice was steady, though tense. "No, they are not unstoppable. But they are extraordinary." On board the Aegis, Thorn's crew worked with precision. Drones disabled enemy weapon systems, shuttles disrupted engines, and energy pulses scrambled communications. The humans were not destroying the Imperial fleet. They were controlling it, turning the battle into a demonstration of discipline, intelligence, and coordination. "Captain," Mara said, "fleet analysis shows that we can force them into a trap. If we lure them toward this sector, we can disable multiple ships simultaneously without causing casualties." Thorn's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the trap. Precision over aggression. Let's show them that strategy always wins." The Aegis maneuvered toward the sector, appearing vulnerable. Imperial warships followed, eager to strike decisively. Yet every movement was calculated. Humans had predicted the Empire's response and set a series of hidden systems and drones to disable critical ships once they reached the designated area. As the Imperial fleet entered the trap, the humans activated their systems. Energy pulses disabled engines. Drones disrupted weapon arrays, and communications were temporarily jammed. Ships floundered in confusion, unable to coordinate or respond effectively. The human warship had turned the tables completely. Varroc stared at the displays, unable to believe what he saw. They predicted everything. They controlled the battlefield entirely. Our strongest ships are disabled or retreating. "How is this possible?" Kale shook his head. "It's not just technology, sir. It's intelligence, coordination, and discipline. They anticipated every move before we made it." Thorn watched the chaos unfold, calm and confident. "Excellent," he said quietly. "They now see the truth. Humans are not just survivors. We are thinkers, planners, and innovators. We do not rely on force alone. We rely on intelligence, courage, and unity." The Imperial fleet was forced to retreat, their morale shaken, their confidence shattered. Humanity had not destroyed the Empire's ships, but they had shown that size, numbers, and firepower meant little against strategy, intelligence, and adaptability. Varrock sighed heavily. We underestimated them. Humanity is extraordinary. We cannot ignore them. We must learn from this or we will continue to fail. Thorn addressed his crew. Well done, everyone. We have not only survived, they have seen what humans are capable of. But this is only the beginning. Other civilizations will notice us now. We must remain vigilant, disciplined, and ready for whatever comes next. The Aegis drifted silently through the void, its hull glowing faintly in the starlight. It had demonstrated human capability, intelligence, and control without unnecessary destruction. The Empire had learned a lesson it would not forget. Humans were not just a small, scattered species. They were a force to be reckoned with, combining courage, strategy, and ingenuity in ways no one had anticipated. And as the human warship moved onward, Captain Thorn looked toward the distant stars. Humanity had turned the tide, not with raw power, but with intelligence, coordination, and foresight. The galaxy was beginning to understand a new truth. Humans were masters of adaptation, discipline, and strategy, and they were only beginning to rise. The void of space was quiet again, but the impact of this engagement would echo across the galaxy. The Empire had faced humans and learned in no uncertain terms that they could not be underestimated. Humanity had emerged victorious in the battle of strategy, and their legacy was only beginning. The Aegis continued its journey, a silent testament to human ingenuity and discipline. The galaxy was vast, and the Empire had learned the hard way. The humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, innovators, and masters of the impossible. The Imperial fleet had retreated, scattered and uncertain. For the first time in their history, the officers of the Galactic Empire understood something they had never expected. Humans were not weak, nor were they predictable. They were disciplined, intelligent, and fearless, a species capable of turning impossible odds into victory. On board the human warship Aegis, Captain Elias Thorn watched the retreating fleet with quiet satisfaction. The battle had been fought not with anger or destruction, but with precision, intelligence, and courage. Humanity had demonstrated its power, and the message had been received loud and clear. Humans were to be respected. Captain, Lieutenant Mara said, her eyes scanning the sensors. The Empire is regrouping, but they are slower now. Their formations are disorganized and morale is low. They will not attack again immediately. Thorn nodded. Good, let them recover. Our goal was never simple destruction, it was demonstration. They must understand that human ingenuity, courage, and discipline cannot be underestimated. Below deck, the crew worked efficiently, repairing minor damage and recharging systems. Though the humans had emerged victorious in every engagement, discipline and preparation remained their highest priorities. The Aegis was more than a ship. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when intellect and courage worked together. In the Empire, Admiral Varric observed the aftermath of the engagement. His fleet had not been annihilated, but it had been humbled. Every officer on every ship had felt the truth. Humans were extraordinary. They were a species that could survive, adapt, and control battles against far larger and better equipped forces. Varrock sighed, a mixture of frustration and respect in his voice. We underestimated them, he admitted quietly. They fight differently than any species we have faced. Not with blind force, but with intelligence, strategy, and unity. They are remarkable. Back on the Aegis, Thorn addressed his crew from the bridge. Today, humanity has proven its strength, but remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are others who will challenge us. We must remain vigilant, disciplined, and ready to face anything. Our strength is in our courage, our intellect, and our unity. Never forget that, the crew nodded, inspired and proud. They had faced the most powerful empire in their sector and emerged victorious not through sheer firepower, but through discipline, strategy, and ingenuity. Every human on board understood that they were part of something greater, a species that refused to be underestimated. In the weeks that followed, the Aegis became a symbol throughout the galaxy. Word of its arrival and the humans' demonstration spread quickly. Other civilizations began to take notice. Humans were no longer the scattered, primitive species many had assumed. They were innovators, thinkers, and fighters capable of extraordinary feats. Imperial scientists worked tirelessly to understand the humans' technology. Shields that adapted instantly, engines that allowed impossible maneuvers, weapons that predicted enemy movement. Every innovation was studied, every tactic analyzed. But technology alone could not explain the humans' success. It was their courage, adaptability, and discipline that truly set them apart. Varrock continued to study the humans, seeking ways to understand them better. They fight with intelligence and purpose, he noted to his staff. Their power is not just in their ships, it is in their minds, their creativity, and their willingness to act decisively when needed. They are unlike any species we have faced. Thorn, meanwhile, prepared the Aegis for its next journey. Humanity had made its mark, but the galaxy was vast and full of challenges. There were new sectors to explore, new civilizations to encounter, and new opportunities to demonstrate what humans were capable of. Prepare for deep space exploration, Thorn ordered. We have shown the galaxy what humanity can do, but we must continue to grow, learn, and adapt. There is still much to discover, and we will face whatever comes with courage and intelligence. As the Aegis moved through the void, its hull glowing faintly in the starlight, the crew reflected on what they had achieved. They had faced the most powerful empire in the sector and emerged victorious through strategy, discipline, and courage. Humanity had proven that it was a force to be reckoned with, not through destruction, but through intelligence, adaptability, and unwavering unity. Across the galaxy, other species began to reconsider their assumptions about humans. Reports of the Aegis's actions spread quickly, and admiration grew alongside caution. Humanity had shown that it could survive impossible odds, outthink far larger forces, and control the course of battles with intelligence and precision. In the Empire, Varrock addressed his fleet, a mixture of respect and warning in his voice. We have faced humans and we have seen their capabilities. We must adapt, learn, and never underestimate them again. They are not just a species to conquer. They are a species to respect and understand. Back on the Aegis, Thorn watched distant stars stretch across the void. The galaxy is changing, he said quietly. Humans are no longer small, scattered, or underestimated. We have shown our strength, our intelligence, and our courage. But our journey is far from over. The galaxy is vast, and humanity's story is just beginning. The human crew worked in silence, preparing for their next mission. Every system was checked, every crew member trained, and every strategy reviewed. They were ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at them. The Aegis was not just a warship. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. In distant star systems, civilizations took note. Humans were no longer seen as weak, scattered, or primitive. They were respected and in some cases feared for their intelligence, discipline, and courage. The arrival of the Aegis had shifted the balance of power in the galaxy, proving that size and technology were not the only measures of strength. Varrock continued to study human tactics, realizing that humanity's true power lay not in weapons alone but in the combination of intellect, courage, and unity. They are more than their ships, he admitted. They are thinkers, innovators, and fighters who will not be underestimated again. Thorn, standing on the bridge of the Aegis, looked toward the stars. Today we have proven our strength. Tomorrow we will continue to explore, learn, and grow. Humanity has emerged, and the galaxy will never forget our presence. We fight not for conquest alone, but for survival, knowledge, and the demonstration of our capabilities, and we will continue to rise. The Aegis moved silently through the void, leaving behind the shaken Imperial fleet and a galaxy that had begun to take notice. Humanity had emerged victorious not through raw power, but through strategy, discipline, and courage. The story of the humans' arrival and their unmatched capabilities spread across the stars, inspiring awe, respect, and caution in equal measure. And as the human warship glided onward, Captain Thorn allowed himself a brief smile. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever. The Empire had been humbled, other civilizations were taking note, and the future was full of opportunity and challenge. The void of space stretched endlessly before them, but humanity was ready. They had demonstrated that intelligence, courage, and unity could overcome impossible odds. The Aegis was more than a ship. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve when they combined strategy, discipline, and determination. The stars shimmered around the vessel, reflecting the human spirit that had emerged stronger than ever. The Empire had learned a valuable lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated, and their rise in the galaxy was only beginning. And as the Aegis disappeared into the distant reaches of space, the galaxy knew one undeniable truth. Humanity had arrived, and they would shape the future with courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. The legacy of the humans had begun, not with destruction, but with intelligence, courage, and precision. The galaxy had been warned. Humans were a force that could not be ignored, a species capable of extraordinary feats, and a civilization that would rise to meet every challenge with strategy, unity, and relentless courage. Captain Thorne looked at his crew one final time. "This is our moment," he said. "We have shown the galaxy what humanity can do, but our journey is far from over. Remember our lessons, trust in each other, and continue to rise. The stars are ours to explore, and humanity's story has only just begun." The Aegis moved forward, silent and steady, leaving behind the echoes of a battle that had changed the galaxy forever. Humanity had proven its worth, and the Empire and all who watched understood that a new era had begun.